Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am your girl Tinesha Davis, and this is Fun and Budget, where we try to talk about all the things fun combined with living a nice, wonderful, balanced budget, also known as minding our coins. In this video, y'all, I want to talk to you guys about why I did not get a property manager for my rental property, okay? In the other video, when I talk about my tenant has not paid her rent in over 14 months since March of 2020, I have a ton of comments I have to comb through. But one of the things I want to talk about is for the people who have responded about property managers. And I want to tell you why I did not go in that direction. And lessons, like how do I feel about it today, 12 years later? Okay, so when I first got this property, as I explained to a lot of you guys in that video, I did not buy this property with the intention of it ever being an investment property, a rental property, or anything. I bought it for it to be my first home, okay? So, I'm like looking like, hold on guys. Look at that. I take my glasses off and it lights up. Let me see something. When I purchased this property, I was coming out of the military. I wasn't all that cognizant about being financially responsible. I was like a lot of people. You assess a loan by, can I afford to make the monthly payments? A lot of people do that, whether it's a car loan, whether it's a home loan, whether it's a personal loan. They look at, can I afford the payments, more so than all of the details that go into that loan. Now we know better. When you know better, you do better. I didn't know better then. It was like, can I afford to make the payment? That was all I was concerned about. So my loan interest rate was pretty high. I can't remember exactly what it was. I cannot remember. And my monthly payment, gosh, guys, I can't remember what that was either. I wish I had a number for you all. But I want to say, like, let's say like my monthly payment was like about $2,000 a month. And hopefully by the time I edit this video, I'll go find the paperwork and put in the real number. But let's say it was like $2,000 a month. That's that. And it was fine. I can afford to pay my monthly payment. So when I went to go buy another house because I wanted to move closer to work, I had a lot of challenges and obstacles that I had to resolve in order to be able to qualify for the second loan. One of those things was, well, what are you doing with this first house? To sell the house, this was a market that had flipped. It was once a thriving market. Then it flipped. The economy was bad. It was down. This was like around 2008, 2009. And a lot of home loans and a lot of mortgages burst because of not illegal, I would say immoral lending practices. At that time, banks were giving two loans. They were giving a primary loan and a secondary loan. The primary loan was usually about 80% of the house's value, and the secondary loan financed the remaining 20%, okay? They were doing a lot of things just to get people into homes. So needless to say, when everything flipped, we found that a lot of people who had these homes could not even afford their payments with the loan structures that they signed their loans under. So therefore, a lot of people started losing homes. A lot of foreclosures went up and things to that effect, right? So needless to say, it was not a seller's market at that time. Value was lost. So for me to sell the house, I was going to lose money. Plus, I would have had to wait for that house to be on the market and to actually go to closing, so on and so forth. The easiest way for me, if I was to be able to buy a new house closer to work and move in, all of that stuff, get all of that rolling, was I had to have a tenant. I had to have a tenant for the house that I was leaving in order to qualify for the new loan. So all of that worked out. And with my new loan for when I first got my house, the house that I live in now, y'all, I want to say my payment was between $3,700 and $4,000 a month. All right. So we have one house payment that's about $2,000 a month. Then we have another house payment that was between $3,700, close to $4,000 a month. So let's just say $4,000. $4,000 a month over here, $2,000 a month over here. This is $6,000 a month that was going to have to come out of my pocket because, mind you, I did not have a tenant at the time. Remember, part of the contingency of the loan was that it was going to be a rental unit. Then I had to show that I had viable candidates to rent, which I was able to do before closing. Now that I have the two houses and I'm paying both mortgages, I really had to go ahead and get a tenant in that $2,000 a month property. This is when I told you guys that, okay, I put feelers out. Come on, get it together. All right, let me just take the glasses off. Then I put feelers out on, I did not have an agent then, but I believe that the agents I talked to, they were talking about the percentage that they take if they successfully find you a renter. Again, with these margins, $4,000, $2,000, I felt like I did not have money to spare to hire an agent to do that for me. So I put things out on different websites myself, and some of them being Craigslist. Now we move forward, and I already told you guys why I made a decision to go to Section 8 route. I go to Section 8 route. What happened is I did consider hiring a property manager at the time. But once again, the money became a factor for me. The fact that one property I'm living in is $4,000, but even if we take that out of consideration, the other property's mortgage is about $2,000, and I already know I cannot rent the property for that amount of money. So I'm renting the property for less. So this meant that money was going to be coming out of my pocket, okay? And I believe at the time I was listing the property for $1,600. I believe it was $1,600. It could have been anywhere between $1,500 and $1,600. And so like I said, I already knew that money was going to have to come out of my pocket, on top of I had to pay the HOAs, which were $900 a year for HOAs. So I'm already taking a cut. I'm already taking a loss, right? I felt like there wasn't any more wiggle room to take more of a loss, to hire on more help. Then I had already heard, again, y'all know how it is when you hear stuff. I mean, anybody has an opinion and experience, and this is just another one of them that I'm offering to you all. But I've had the stories of people who said they hired property managers who robbed them. They hired property managers who didn't do their job. They hired property managers who price gouged. So it was that fear that you can put a manager in place that may give you prices for things that may or may not be true. Now, because I was already working with no profit margin for this rental, I felt like that was another thing I didn't want to take on. And if I was going to be, keep my head above the water, I would have to manage it myself. Meaning that the tenant has a problem, something breaks, I either come over and do the work, which I've done lots of times, or I hire somebody to do the work, which I've done lots of times throughout the owning of this unit. Also, I knew that with any rental, not only do you have to be able to cover your mortgage, the loan, the HOA, and for me that was it, but I also knew that I was going to also have to be able to put aside money for the fix things as they got broke, to put aside money to cover the mortgage in case I have rental turnover, things like that, right? So again, I'm just saying that to say that there was no profit margin to work from to add on additional staff, additional resources. That's where I was. Now, fast forward all these years later, a few things happened. A, I refinanced the loan. The reason I had never refinanced the loan sooner is because I always felt like, well, again, listening to people will tell you that, oh, rental property loans are super high, are high. Now, remember, I got my loan when I was buying both houses. When I first got that loan, it was under the fact that I didn't have a second house at the time. So they gave me a regular FHA loan. Yeah, I think it's an FHA loan. So now I refinanced the house. And again, I said I never refinanced it sooner because I was like, oh my goodness, if I try to refinance sooner, the interest rate is going to be super high because now this is a rental. This is a rental property. So I just stayed away from it. Then one day, years and years later, I said, let me try to refinance and see what happens. Let me just see what happens. So I refinanced it as a rental. And guess what, guys? My interest rate went down to 3.37%. 3.37. The interest rate on my primary home that I was living in was 3.25. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So what you're saying to me is that higher means that, yes, it will be higher than a normal loan that you live in for a home that you live in, but it's not that high where it's just crazy impossible. And then the second thing that I did at this time is I put in a request through Section 8 to have the rent increased. I did that, and that was successful. So now we have it at a point where I'm now making a little bit of a profit. Not a profit that I can live off of or spend or take a paycheck from. Let me answer that question too. Somebody asked me in my net worth video. No, it wasn't my net worth video. Somebody asked me in my budget video. Yeah, my budget video. Did that number include my rental income and stuff like that? It does not. It does not. I've never included my rental income in my budget. I never included rental income in what I bring home a month. But I do include what you see leave my personal income to go and supplement the rent. And the reason why I never included that is because I always knew that even with the little bit of surplus that I got, honestly, guys, it was about $200 to $300 a month. It had to stay in the rental account to handle incidentals, to handle when the HOA was due again. And to handle, and a lot of times it didn't even cover the HOA, y'all, because you will see that in my budget when I have a line item of rental HOA. Anything you see in my personal budget is because it had to come out of my personal money that was made outside of the rental. If it wasn't on my budget, if you didn't see it, that's because the rental stuff took care of it. But I knew that money had to stay there and stack up for just in case things, emergencies, things that needed to be fixed, things that needed to be repaired or replaced. And it had to cover if I ever found myself in between tenants, right? So therefore that money was never ever touched. It just goes in that bank account and it's there to handle that business. So even with that, I still feel like I was not making enough of a cushion to bring on the help of a property manager. That's that. Now, last month, I started changing my mind frame around the rental. Where I was once doing my budgets, and I would tell you guys, I'm putting $200 towards the rental unit. I was thinking of it as a burden. I actually had it listed in the bills section of my budget because it was like, here's a bill I have to pay. Just like everything else, I got to pay my electricity, I have to pay my gas, I have to pay my bill, and I have to pay my rental bill. And I felt some kind of way about it, like, I got to pay this bill. Last month, for my May budgets, I actually flipped my perspective on it. And instead of thinking of it as a bill, I thought of it as an investment. Like, hey guys, I get to invest $200 in my rental property. And it changed everything for me. It was like, because when I think about it, this rental property is an asset in my net worth portfolio, okay? When we think about the equity that I have in the rental property, right? And so therefore, every time I make a payment to pay down what I owe on the loan of that property becomes an asset, a credit in my life, rather than a debit where I'm just putting the money somewhere and it's being wasted away. It's not. It's adding to the value of a property that I own. I started thinking about that, and I even moved where I categorized this $200. I put it down toward my money goals section. So I put it there. I'm like, wow, that feels so much better. So now the me today, when I think about, had I had that mindset, if somebody had told me, this is what I wish somebody would have told me. I'm telling you guys right now, starting right now at this minute mark in the video, I'm telling you what I wish somebody would have told me, what I wish, the perspective I wish somebody would have given me. If somebody would have given me the perspective that hiring a property management company, now mind you, they have contracts that you can say, okay, at the end of this contract, I no longer want to work with you. If you find out that they're not living up to your standards, or if you do feel like they're jacking up prices on you and taking advantage of you, there's that. You can shop around. You can do your homework. You can find a company that you would love to partner with in a property management firm, okay? If somebody would have said, and when you do this, yeah, in the beginning, you may be losing or not having as much of a profit or taking even, a negative red number, you know what I'm saying? You're putting out more than you're bringing in the beginning. And somebody would say that even though you're doing that, yes, you get to write this off. You can get to write off whatever you pay to this property manager. You can write that off on your taxes. And if somebody would have broke down the bottom line, that at the end of the day, you are still adding to the investment of your life. You're still adding and contributing to this investment that you have in your life right now. Today, me says, yes, I do say that if I had a property management firm, a property manager handling this property, she may not have tried to get over. She may not have tried to get over, because people do what they find that they can do. They test the waters first. They test the waters. Sometimes they test it by, let's be a little late and see what happens. Let's run this story and see what happens. But a lot of times when you're dealing with a corporation, when you're dealing with what you may deem as corporate America, I find that a lot of people tend not to try to pull the okie doke over corporations when they will do that to an individual. So I do feel that hiring a property manager at the end of the day, because of the way my personality is set up and because of the way where I want to spend my time. I don't want to spend my time chasing behind a property. I don't. Or chasing behind tenants. Or chasing behind, the business of all of that. I would rather outsource that. The same way I outsource my lawn care. The same way I outsource the cleaning of my home. The same way I outsource my taxes. I hire so many professionals in those areas to do the job that they're passionate about doing, that they're trained to do, that they actually like doing, because I know I don't want to do it. So I'd rather surround myself with good professionals who can help me in areas where I'm not strong or with areas where I'm just not interested. I do. If I could do it all again, I would hire a property manager. Again, when I think about the overall investment and money that I invest into my investment, that would have been a line item that I should have had. Instead of thinking small and thinking, what if I do it myself? How many dollars can I save if I do it myself? In the long run, y'all, I lost $5,138.